Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're getting into some really interesting stuff straight from the source.
Yeah, we're looking at what Sam Altman, OpenAI's CEO, has been saying.
Specifically about how AI is evolving, and maybe more importantly, what that means for, your job, the future of work generally.
That's right. We're pulling from his recent talks and comments, including things he mentioned at events like the 2025 Snowflake Summit.
Okay, so our mission here is pretty clear. Unpack Altman's claims, especially this idea that AI is becoming like an intern,
Yeah.
a junior employee,
Right.
and figure out what that actually means for you, your career, and, well, the whole workforce picture. Let's jump in.
So the really striking thing Altman points out is that people are apparently already starting to treat AI tools less like tools and more like, junior members of the team.
Like interns, seriously. That feels like a pretty big jump from just, asking it to write an email or summarize something.
It is a big jump, and that's exactly his point. He talks about a workflow that's much more like managing a rookie.
How so?
Well, you give the AI a task, maybe something a bit complex, multi-step. Then you look at the output, which probably isn't perfect first time.
Okay, makes sense.
So you give it feedback. You say, no, do it like this, or you missed this part. And here's the kicker. The AI actually learns from that feedback. It improves over time, just like a person would.
Wow. So it's not just a one-shot deal. You're actually kind of training it through interaction.
Exactly. It's iterative. You're shaping its performance. It moves way beyond just fetching info or drafting a single thing.
And he's saying this isn't theory, this is happening now.
Yeah, he believes it's actively happening in workplace.
Yeah.
People are naturally falling into this pattern.
Okay, that changes the game, doesn't it? If companies see AI as this cheap, fast, trainable junior employee, what does that do to actual entry-level human jobs?
That's the massive implication, right? The whole nature of work, especially at the start. Companies see the efficiency, the cost savings, and that inevitably leads them to rethink how they staff those roles.
So tasks like basic research, writing first drafts, handling simple customer chats, the stuff that's often a first job, AI starts doing that.
Pretty much. And that leads to the really critical question Altman is posing. If AI handles those foundational tasks, how do people get started in their careers?
Yeah, how do you learn the ropes, get that first bit of experience if the entry point is automated?
Right. How do young professionals train, learn the culture, build those fundamental skills?
It sounds like we need a fundamental rethink of professional development almost, because that traditional path might just vanish.
It seems that way. And adding another layer here, Altman also talked about generational differences in AI use, which is fascinating.
Oh, yeah, I saw that bit, how different age groups are interacting with it.
Exactly. You sort of sketched out a spectrum.
Yeah.
Older generations might use it more like a fancy Google, ask a question, get an answer. Transactional.
Okay.
Millennials, he suggested, are maybe a bit more creative with it, using it like a personal coach, a brainstorming partner, something to bounce ideas off.
Right, more interactive. But Gen Z, he seemed to think they were operating differently again.
Yeah, he described Gen Z as using AI almost like an operating system. It's not a separate tool they decide to use. It's just woven into their digital life.
So for coding help, writing essays, scheduling, brainstorming, it's just there, a natural part of their flow.
That's the idea. Less friction, less of a conscious decision to use AI. It points towards AI fluency becoming, just a basic skill.
Like knowing Excel back in the day.
Exactly like that. He made that exact comparison. Prompting AI effectively is becoming table stakes, not a niche skill.
Okay, but then he pushes it even further, beyond just making us more productive or replacing interns. He predicts AI is going to start making actual discoveries soon.
Yeah, like within a year. That's the really mind-bending projection. We're not just talking about helping us find things.
What does that look like? AI finding new scientific connections?
Precisely. Or suggesting genuinely novel product ideas based on data patterns humans missed, uncovering hidden correlations, things like that.
So AI shifts from being a tool for discovery to being a co-discoverer, or even discovering things on its own.
That's the potential he sees. Not replacing human thinking necessarily, but extending it in profound ways. A true collaborator in finding new knowledge.
That's huge. But it also sounds like it creates a whole host of new problems, right? We have to touch on the challenges.
Oh, absolutely. Alongside the incredible potential, there are really significant challenges. We already talked about the entry-level job displacement. That's huge.
The missing bottom rungs on the career ladder.
Exactly. How does a workforce sustain itself if that entry path is blocked?
And what about the discovery piece? If an AI makes a breakthrough, who gets the credit?
Right. Is it the user who set it up? The company that built the AI? Is it some kind of shared human AI thing? The ethics get complicated fast.
And these aren't just philosophical debates for the future, are they?
No, not at all. Altman stresses these are practical questions we need to figure out, like, now. The tech isn't waiting.
So, given all this, what does Altman suggest we actually do? How should we respond?
Well, the first most crucial step, according to him, is widespread AI literacy. It can't just be for the techies anymore.
Everyone needs to understand how to use these tools.
Yes. How to work with them, manage them, collaborate effectively. That needs to be a baseline skill, whatever your job.
Which implies a massive shift needed in education, doesn't it? From schools to universities.
Definitely. Education systems need a serious update, fast. Teaching not just how to use AI, but how to use it ethically, creatively. Training people for partnership, not just competition.
And what about rules, regulations?
That's the other piece. Thoughtful regulation. It's a really tricky balancing act, though.
How so?
Well, you don't want to stifle innovation by moving too slowly or regulating too heavily. But move too fast without checks, and you risk major disruption or negative consequences. Finding that middle ground is key.
So wrapping this up, the big takeaway from Altman's perspective seems to be this AI intern idea. It's not science fiction. It's basically here or arriving very, very quickly.
Yeah, the tools we use today are rapidly shifting from simple assistants towards being teammates and potentially even co-creators in the near future.
But like all big tech shifts, the final impact, whether it's good or bad overall, really hinges on us, on how we decide to use this power.
Exactly. It comes down to our choices.
So maybe the question to leave you with is this. Faced with this rapid change, will we lean into fear and try to hold it back? Or will we find ways to guide this technology proactively with, ethics, clear purpose, and maybe a good dose of human wisdom? Something to think about.